This edition of MacVoices is supported by Macstock Conference Expo and the Midwest Mac BBQ, coming to Woodstock, Illinois on July 16 and 17. Join me, along with a host of great speakers, including Mac Roundtable members Victor Kayal of the TerraTech podcast, Adam Christensen of the MacCast, Don McAllister of Screencasts Online, and Allison Sheridan of the NosillaCast. Learn more and register at macstock2016.com. Hi, I'm Chuck Joyner. This is MacVoices at NAB in Las Vegas. I'm in the Dashwood Cinema Solutions booth talking to the man, Tim Dashwood, about what he's been up to since we last saw him at the Super Meet last year. Tim, it's good to see you.
Nice to see you too, Chuck.
So what have you been up to? Last year, as I recall, you stuck me into a herd of elephants in an Oculus Rift.
That's right, and I pulled up the exact same footage this year just for you.
Thank you.
So last year, what I showed you, it was very low frame rate because it was our first sort of proof of concept. It wasn't even really beta, it was kind of our alpha that we were showing at the show. In the first few months after NAB last year, we really optimized it and created a brand new pipeline for it that allows us to basically pass the frames at 60 frames per second with zero latency from when the timeline is playing your sequence. So if a cut happens on the timeline, it happens exactly at the same moment in the headset. So you can cut to music basically, which was, that was a big leap forward from that.
Okay, 360 cut to music. That's intriguing.
That's right. And on top of it, we've added all kinds of new plugins. So, for example, convolution filters. Now, convolution filters like a blur filter, a noise reduction filter, anything that moves pixels or affects surrounding pixels. You can't just use a normal filter on your 360 because it won't apply it evenly in the equirectangular projection, and you also get a seam at the edges where it's supposed to join. So I had to basically invent a way to apply those filters to 360 and make it seamless. So we have 360 glow filters, blur filters, noise reduction filters, and sharpening filters. So that helps. You're using a GoPro and they have internal sharpening, but sometimes there's noise, and GoPros typically are what people have been using in 360 arrays. So we have a noise reduction filter. So that's just a typical solving a problem that existed. And I think I also, last year, I already had my Reorient Sphere plugin, and I had the HMD Viewer plugin. We created a plugin, I can't remember if I showed it at NAB last year, but it was called Project 2D on Sphere, and essentially the way it worked is you would take any flat image, whether it be video or a logo or a lower third, whatever it may be, and it would apply it essentially like putting a sticker on the inside of a sphere, a clear sphere, and then you could rotate that sphere on any axis. So that was okay, pretty good. It worked for simple graphics. But what I really wanted to do was create a 3D rendering environment that would work stereoscopically, because a lot of our content from clients and stuff was coming in stereoscopically. There's more stereoscopic cameras coming out. For example, the Ozo, which is across the hall here from us, it shoots stereoscopic by default. So, and for me, I love stereos. I come from the stereo background. So I created a rendering environment, something that couldn't be done in After Effects or Motion. There's a technique called slit scanning that's been around for ages that works for panoramic, but it wasn't going to work to solve what we call the 3D problem. The 3D problem is when you look up or look down and you have stereo and then you reorient your head, you end up getting vertical disparity where one eye looks up and one eye looks down, and then you get muscle strain and a headache, or it could be worse. So this new plugin allows you to put the one I'm going to show you today, just that flat plane, but instead of being a sticker on a sphere, it can be a flat plane in 3D space. It can be anywhere around you. You can keyframe it, you can move it around, and our stereoscopic 360 camera will photograph it from two slight different perspectives for every possible orientation throughout the complete sphere. So I know it sounds crazy, but it does it all. It actually will function at 60 frames per second.
Okay, so just, I don't want to get too deep into this, but I got to ask, so when it's doing this, is it creating something separate in the event that I'm looking down? Or is it, it's not,
It's
but
all
it's
seamless for
fixing
the
it?
user. As far as the user is concerned, you're just placing an element on top of your 360 and manipulating it. And it's just, everything's happening under the hood, but we've programmed it all so that it functions on the GPU. So it uses the parallel processing power of the GPU to actually, basically, essentially, we're creating an individual camera for every pixel in the image, times 2, because it's stereo. So it's that graphics card is really getting a workout. But even on my MacBook Pro, my 15-inch MacBook Pro from 2013, it's fine. It burns through it.
That's impressive. That's impressive. So you're going to show us a little bit of some of this, and I'm kind of anxious to see it. Before we get to it, though, I want to make sure folks understand that they're going to be seeing it in Final Cut. But do you support all the other NOEs?
Yeah, absolutely. Anytime I write a plugin, it's able to be deployed to After Effects, Premiere Pro, Motion, or Final Cut Pro.
So let's take a look at it.
Okay, so here we have the same footage that you saw last year. But the important thing is that now, as you can see, we have very smooth motion on the headset. So we're pushing the signal out 60 frames per second. So if I start playing this here, so we're getting everything at 60 frames, and you'll see that when the cut happens, it's perfectly in sync. So we had to do some trickery to make this work. So the idea is that you can add it to music, obviously. So that's old news, though. This is something we've had for a while. Let me show you what's kind of cool and new in our 360 VR viewer. Instead of just having Oculus Rift capabilities, if you don't own an Oculus Rift, we can now just have a flat window preview, and you can move this around. So let's say I just want to look up at the helicopter, and I'm just going to place this here for a second. And the other kind of cool thing we're showing is a beta, just today. We haven't released it yet. Is our virtual desktop. So the idea here is, I have to be in the headset. I should have shown that to you while I had the headset on. If I turn on the virtual desktop, anytime I move my mouse, I actually get the whole desktop shown in the headset. And as soon as I let go of the mouse, and I can set the delay, at the moment the delay is set to 1.5 seconds. So I just let go of the mouse, and the desktop goes away. I can see how it looks. And I'm like, no, I need to make an adjustment, and I come back and I start working on it. So we did this because we were getting a lot of requests from editors who said, well, hey, I'm working on my own. I don't have a director sitting next to me. And this was originally, the idea was it's a director's monitor. And so this is something we're experimenting with. The only downside of it is that we have yet to see a headset that really has enough resolution to resolve,
hello, folks.
The fine,
welcome to the virtual and augmented reality
the fine
pavilion
details,
for the NAB
right?
show, brought to
And we'll
you
pause
by
for a
VR
sec till he's done.
The first and largest.
So, I'll just get extra close. So that's something that we're kind of showing, and I don't know how long it'll take before we actually perfect it. We're working on putting some of our own chromatic aberration correction in to kind of make it work a little better in the headset and make it a sharper image. But that's coming in the future. But just getting back to the flat window, we put all of our award-winning stereo 3D modes in, so we can actually analyze stereoscopic 3D images that are coming out of whatever host. Now this footage that I'm showing today is just monoscopic, so we won't be doing any of that. Let me just lock it in here. So what I'm going to do is just look up at the helicopter here, and I'm going to show you how the new plugin functions. So over here, and by the way, we have our new version called 360 VR Express, which is kind of a greatest hits of 360 VR Toolbox. But at the show, we're selling it for $99. Its regular price is $119, and it works on monoscopic footage. So footage like this, it'll do basically all the essentials for you. And we called it Express because it's for people who just went out, shot, and very quickly need to edit their footage together, do some things to it, and get it out on YouTube or Facebook. And it's very, very quick. And it just doesn't, it doesn't have all those high-level pro features that Toolbox does. But what I'm going to show you today is a high-level pro feature. So today we're showing the 3D 360 plane plugin. So I'll just apply it to my footage here, and you'll see it just comes up with a black square. And it's like, well, what's the black square? It's waiting for me to tell it what I want to put in there. So I'm just going to go over to the image well here, and I'll pick, let's see, I have logos over here. So this is some immersive media footage, so I'll choose their logo, which is just black with some alpha. And there we go, we have the logo, and it's there in the center of the screen. But now what I want to do is move it around in 3D space. So I can do that using spherical coordinates, which basically means distance, and we have an auto orient turned on. So whatever longitude or latitude I choose, it will actually just maintain, right? And it'll always face the camera. Now, let's say I wanted to recreate the opening of Star Wars, and I wanted to have the scroll. What I could do is go into Cartesian coordinates, which are basically X, Y, Z coordinates, and you can keyframe them and go from, X, Y, Z coordinates over here at a distance, and or start back here and move there and keyframe all that stuff. And you would turn off the auto orient, and then you could put stuff anywhere in 3D space and fly it around and do all kinds of stuff. Now, I'm not showing stereoscopic right now. I will in a second. But for now, I should actually use a different logo, because I was thinking I would put this logo on the bottom of this helicopter. So why don't I choose my logo, which is a little brighter.
Technology within GoPro. 6-camera solution and a 16-camera solution.
So I'm just going to go back to spherical coordinates,
it's both artistic and technical.
And I just want to kind of line it up here, and then I want to change the latitude, and I'm just going to put it up on the helicopter, and then I can change the distance away from the helicopter. So I'd say, well, it's up here. Now, the cool thing is, when we're working in monoscopic, it doesn't really matter. Everything works. I can change the orientation of this, move it all around, and I can even, change the angle on any axis. If I go to something a little more complicated, and I think we have some stereoscopic, let me see, I have some stereoscopic media in here. Okay, so here's an example. This is some ice fishing stuff. Now, I've already placed a logo here. Over in my preview, I just have to tell it that we're sending stereo over under. And there we go. I'm just looking forward. And this is where I'll choose a stereo mode. So we'll use one of our award-winning stereo analysis modes. This one is an anaglyph outline, and we also have all these other advanced things like difference mode and depth analysis. But I'm going to keep it on just plain old black and white anaglyph. I'm terrible with this mouse. Do you like the natural scroll or the old style scroll? Because
I like the natural myself.
Oh, yeah? No, I always get so confused with it. Anyway, okay, so what we've done here is we've just put this logo down here, and it's in 3D. So if you had anaglyph glasses, you would actually see this in 3D. So what we'll do is just move this up. It's already been applied. I'm going to move it here. And the reason I've chosen anaglyph is so I can show you the stereoscopic feature. So this function here, called interaxial, refers to the distance between two stereoscopic cameras, the left eye and the right eye. So as we increase it, we're actually increasing the separation between the left and the right. And over here, you can see that now we have some stereoscopic separation. And the great thing is that, we are physically in 3D space. So I could, for example, keyframe this, at the beginning. We could say, I want to be, this far away.
That's kind of where G-Tech has been a long part.
And then I want to come right up to the camera, get real close.
With our media team, whether it be on a VR shoot or a traditional shoot with our partners like
and I can keyframe all of that stuff, and as you can see with all the distortion,
even our own internal launch.
it looks really weird here, but over here, it still looks perfect. And what we do is we set the start angle and the end angle here of where we transition from 3D into 2D so that we get rid of the 3D problem down at the bottom. So I know that's really like high level, and maybe some of your viewers are just looking at this from a beginner's perspective. But this was kind of a big deal because this was one of the biggest problems in doing stereoscopic professional production. It was just a huge challenge because stereo just adds this extra level of complexity that is very difficult to deal with. So yeah, that's the big new thing. The really cool thing about it is I can apply this not just to a plane. Now that I've designed the 360 environment, I can apply it to particle emitters, for example. So this snow fishing scene, I could add snow, and it would be true stereoscopic 360 snow all the way around you, just with a particle emitter. Potentially we could import real 3D objects. There's, the sky's the limit with what we could do.
I think it's obviously going to be something that we all have to come to appreciate. But the thing that I'll appreciate right away is not getting a headache or feeling sick from some of the 3D things, because that's something I think that is holding a lot of people back from 3D. They've heard some bad things and they're afraid of it. There's some technical reasons that was happening, and you're trying to solve it.
Yeah, I think education is a really important part of that. And I mean, we already saw that with 3D in general, because what was happening is if you had bad 3D and bad experiences, that's going to turn people off from it. And we don't want that to happen in VR. We want good 3D. We don't want people to get eye strain and headaches. We want to provide those tools that lets people actually make good 3D VR or just good standard 360 VR, on a daily basis.
Very cool, very cool. I'm looking forward to coming back here again next year and seeing what's next, because I know you. There's more coming, I'm sure.
There is. I mean, the thing is, I'm a working stiff just like everyone else. We don't have corporate backing. We're not having a software business is not anything I ever intended on doing. I only create the software because I'm solving my own problems. And there's a lot of stuff that I've already done in the respect of solving problems that I haven't even gotten close to releasing as plugins.
Then we have something definitely to look forward to.
That's right, for sure.
Where do we send folks to learn more about this? Maybe sign up for betas, get the plugins you've already created.
Okay, well, our website is dashwood3d.com. And you can go there, and it's really easy to find the links.
Tim, it's good to see you. Thank you so much.
Great seeing you too, Chuck.
Folks, I'll have more from NAB in Las Vegas. I'm Chuck Joyner. This is MacVoices. Visit MacVoices.com for links, show notes, to subscribe, to connect with Chuck on Twitter, Google+, YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, and the MacVoices blog. Subscribe to our weekly newsletter, the MacVoices Dispatch, to stay up to date on all the latest MacVoices news from our front page or at macvoices.com/newsletter. Do more with your Apple tech by subscribing to the free MacVoices magazine on Flipboard by visiting macvoices.com/magazine. Advertising and sponsorships handled by Backbeat Media at backbeatmedia.com. Bandwidth provided by CashFly at cashfly.com.